All right. So we always start off with, what are you doing to nourish yourself right now?
Okay. Tough questions right out of the gate here.
I know. That's the way we roll.
So I love to read. I've always been a big reader, and I go to bed early almost every night just to read before bedtime. And I find when I've had a really long day or just need some time to myself, I just go to bed earlier and just read for a while. It's just kind of my quiet alone time. Sometimes I have a cat snuggling with me, but usually it's just me and whatever book I'm reading. And that's just time for me to unwind and take care of myself.
Now, what are you reading right now?
Oh, I have been reading some heavy books recently, but I just finished The Hate You Give, which is a young adult novel. I believe it's also a movie, and it gets into race and all sorts of things along those lines, but it was just very good. Something that I had wanted to read.
Okay.
Every now and then there are some lighthearted books or Jodi Picoult, but that's what I've been into lately.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Now, do you read like an actual book, or are you on like an electronic device?
Both.
Okay.
I do love a good actual book, but I also have a very old Kindle.
Okay.
And so I do like to read with that too. It's easy to travel with, as well as just easy to lay in bed and read. But there's something about holding an actual book, because I think they're rare these days.
Especially a library book.
Yes.
Like that's going way old school.
Yes. We do have those too.
Yeah. And they smell so good. Yeah.
Ew. I think they smell kind of weird.
I know.
Really? I think they smell so good. I mean, it's like a library smell.
I know. Library books just kind of gross me out though.
Yeah.
But they're free, and I like the diversity of which you can get, but they do kind of gross me out sometimes.
I've never even thought about that.
You will now.
Yeah. So, fun story for you guys. Valerie is actually at my house recording this because she lives in Denver. We met at a networking group. So I have to say, do you know how nerve-wracking it is having an organizer come over to your house? Like, you should have seen what this place looked like, maybe 10 minutes ago before you got here, just like frantically like throwing crap in drawers.
Okay.
So don't look in my drawers.
I will not. And know that I will never ever judge another person. If you could see the state of toys spread across my house right now, you would kind of wonder about things. But I do have small kids, and I cannot get them to clean up every day. It is just not a battle I'm willing to have. So my house is not always ready for Martha Stewart. So
okay, good.
Just know that. And I will never judge another person's house.
Later today, you're going to be like judging secretly.
I might.
You accidentally open a closet.
Like,
I
was just looking for your bathroom.
But it did work out conveniently that our housekeeper came on Monday, and it's Wednesday, as we noted. So I still have a little bit of the house cleaner clean going on.
It's always nice.
Planned 100%.
Well, I am super excited just to learn more about like organizing and cleaning tips and tricks, and especially right now for the kiddos. I mean, you've got kids yourself, so you're getting into the swing of getting back to school, which is always exciting. But there's a lot of preparation for getting organized to get back to school, right? You've got to get the books and the school supplies, and every kid wants new clothes. And so there's a lot that goes into that on top of taking care of everything at the house that you have to, right? Cleaning, keeping up with the dishes, making dinners and lunches and breakfasts and all of the things. So Valerie, what are some, I guess, of your best tips and tricks? But maybe I should even start with like, when you're working with clients, what are some of the biggest hurdles that you see?
Absolutely. So yeah, here in Denver, schools are going back, or kids are going back to school in the next few weeks, really. August 19th, I think, is when my oldest starts first grade. And I think some of the biggest things are, at least when it comes to getting ready for school, is waiting until that Monday morning to start things. So maybe you've bought the school supplies, you've got their backpack, but you're not really thinking about what time do we need to get up, making lunches, what do our routines look like? It's just all of a sudden you're pulling your kids kicking and screaming out of bed because you know that you need to get them out the door. So practicing those routines, or at the very least starting to get kids up earlier. I've already warned my kids that we're about done with the lazy mornings, that it's time to start thinking about what time we need to be out the door to get them to school on time, getting ready for all of that. So definitely at this point, looking for what do you need to do? What do you need to buy for school supplies, new clothes, backpacks, water bottles, whatever comes in with that. Making sure that that gets scheduled soon. Some of the other pieces that would fall in there too are, where's all that stuff going to go? Where is that going to live? Where's the backpack going to go? So one of the things I want families to think about is what I'm going to call your destination station. So where in my house, we have a detached garage. We come in our back door. So we open up right into the kitchen, but we've claimed part of that space as kind of our landing spot for shoes and backpacks and jackets and whatever else might come in and out of the house that we need to use every day. And so we have that spot, and everything in that space has its own home. So my kids have their own hooks for jackets, for backpacks. The shoes are all down there. I actually keep a basket of their socks because I got tired of wrangling my kids to the back door to put on their shoes and realizing their socks are upstairs. Like, you know what? I am just going to put a basket. Their socks just live in a basket by the back door. So that
That's
is
really smart.
Yeah, that is so smart. I'm like, I need to do that.
And you could do that too. Yes. Because sometimes I will get there and be like, oh, I don't have my socks. But I was tired of running up the stairs because I knew if I let my kids go, they would find some toy along the way and like never make it back to the back door.
Yep.
So getting that space set up and making sure that everybody who uses that space knows how it works. So these are where your shoes go, and this is where your backpack is, and this spot is for empty lunch boxes, and this spot is for library books or things that need to go back to a friend's house or back in the car or what have you. Anything along those lines. Maybe a spot for your mail if you bring your mail in from there, or paperwork from school. And then practicing that routine. So what does that look like in the morning and in the evening? Are you packing up bags at night so you're ready to walk out the door in the morning? Are you gathering all that stuff in the morning? Whatever works for your family. But make sure that everybody knows how that space functions and what the kids' expectations are. And it might change as your kids get older. My 3-year-old will usually, or my 4-year-old will usually just drop her stuff on the floor. And I will be nagging her throughout the evening to empty her backpack, which she will eventually, but she doesn't always want to do it right now. Maybe you have a checklist on the wall of things that they need to do. Make sure they have packed, make sure they're taken care of, and have that present on the wall so that they can see that as well. Yeah, those would probably be some of my biggest pieces.
I feel like I need that for ski and snowboard season, like a checklist of, okay, do you have your helmet? Do you have your pants? Shoes?
Absolutely. You can use checklists for just about anything, especially sports like that. You want to make sure you have all the equipment you need as you're heading out the door because you don't want to forget any of those things.
It'd be a sad day to show up at the slopes without your snowboard.
That would be very sad.
That has not happened, knock on wood.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also imagining like cubbies. I feel like cubbies would be really appropriate for that space.
Absolutely. Yeah. We just have, our house just has several shelves, which I guess you could also count as cubbies. Easy access for the kids. The kids have their own little box for shoes. And yeah, cubbies would be great.
Get like little baskets and slip them underneath the shelves. Yeah.
Yeah. You can make that space however it works. And you might have one at your front door and one by your garage door, depending on who uses that space and what doors you're coming in and out of most often. Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, especially so you mentioned like, the kids maybe having to run upstairs and grab a pair of socks and getting distracted with the toys. How do you handle the toy situation for especially young kids who have a lot of toys?
Absolutely. One, I would say they don't need a lot of toys. So you could certainly cut back on that. I really encourage for holidays and birthdays that you ask for experiences. So for really young kids, it might be zoo memberships or science museum or children's museum memberships, just asking a grandparent to help pay for those, or spending time with the kids. So I think one of my kids' birthdays, we were back east, there was a Lego museum and my kids love Legos. And so we just spent an afternoon there. It was like, this was your birthday gift. And of course we bought Legos on the way out, but the gift itself was just spending that time playing in this Lego museum.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to just cut back on the toys.
Yeah.
And then from there, making it really easy for kids to put stuff away and for you to put stuff away. So not having any complicated systems, let go of your need for things to be in certain boxes. So we have a dress up bin and a bin for baby doll clothes. I'm the only one that really ever makes sure that they are organized that way. All I really want when we're putting toys away is that things have been tossed into a bin of some form.
Mm-hmm.
So making it simple and then having things at the kids' level. So bins along the floor, lowest bookshelves, just making it really easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we will usually turn on some music. My goal is to kind of pick up some toys every night. I don't need the house to be perfect when we all go to bed, but I'd like to make a dent in it. So the kids will get to pick a couple of songs and we will clean up as much as we can during those 2 songs. And that's kind of our
fun.
goal. And then they get to pick the music and we're dancing around the living room, putting stuff away. And my youngest likes to throw things into a basket. That's how I get her to put her laundry away. That's how we put toys away. So I'll find a basket or a bin and then ask her to put all the stuffed animals in it. And it might just be kind of a game of basketball. So turn it into a game, make it fun. And then it doesn't feel quite so drudgery to put everything away.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was going to be my next question is like, how do you get the kids to be compliant with this kind of stuff? You know, how do you get them to help clean up? And I guess just it's about finding that system that makes it fun for them because nobody wants to do anything that's not fun.
Right.
So finding something that the kids can enjoy doing too.
Yeah, definitely making it fun. We like to have spontaneous dance parties in our house. So
I love that.
That just turning on some fun music and then finding a way to make it into a game, having them race against me. So I bet you can't get your stuffed animals put away before I get all the books done.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes that kicks them into gear. Sometimes it means they just lay on the floor and cry. But, you know, these are kids we're working with here.
Yeah.
But anytime you can make something fun. And then I think as a parent, just lowering your expectations that your house is going to look ready for Martha Stewart. Everything in my house has a place and a home. And we do our best to make it easy for things to end up back there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that's so important is the easy factor of it because it's kind of like, you know, if you have a bunch of bowls nested together, it just makes it a pain in the butt to put it back away. And so it just doesn't happen. Or, you know, like if you're getting something out of the pantry and you have to move 3 other things to get it, it's just like that barrier is enough to make you be like, meh, do I really need to put the toaster back in the drawer where it should go?
Absolutely. Yeah. Whether you have kids or not, you want to make it easy to clean up and to put stuff away. Our KitchenAid mixer lives in the basement. We don't have room for it in our kitchen, which means we never use it because it's not easy to get to. And so there's no, you want to make things as simple as possible to get out and to put back in its home.
Yep, totally. Now, what about like help in the kitchen with the kids? Because I would imagine that sometimes things are higher up. So do you have your kids involved in like kitchen cleanup too? Or is that more just like the adult thing?
That in my house has been something we've been trying to do for years, but are not always very successful at. My kids have their own drawer that they have access to. It's got plastic cups and like their water bottles and placemats and some little things that they can access. And then we just started last school year we bought a bunch of little snack cups. And at the beginning of the week, we fill them with a bunch of raisins and cheddar bunnies and whatever snacks we have around. Sometimes they help with that. Sometimes they don't. Depends on just how things are going. And then they have access to that as well. So it makes packing lunches easier. It becomes, you're hungry. Okay, just go grab one of the snack things. And they know, my kids are pretty good. They're not going to eat more than a couple of them any given day. If your kids are going to clean through snacks that you put out like that, you might want to put them a little bit higher. We also get our kids involved in making their lunches. So knowing that they're going to make a giant mess making sandwiches, it's fine. We just do it and we let them do it because they're practicing making that happen. And they love when they can get out their own sandwich bread and get out the toaster and find the almond butter and cut the banana. And we've just learned to let them do it and wait for them to ask for help. I would love to get them more involved in meal planning. We're working on that in terms of they can only have chicken nuggets 3 nights a week. My kids would eat them every day, I think, if we let them. And so, okay, what are some other meals? And we're working on that. So I think the earlier you can get your kids involved in the kitchen, the better.
Totally agree. Yeah. And I think those are really, because a lot of, I think people might let their kids like make their own sandwiches, but then go crazy about the mess that they make. So they're like, okay, I'll just handle it from now on. But then it's like putting more responsibility on them, so that they get stressed about, oh, I've got to get the kids sandwiches made, you know? So teaching them early on the skills of being independent and making your own food, and also like, what are you going to eat later? Like, you know, these are things you have to think about. Super important. So I think it's really, I think it's really cool you guys are incorporating that stuff.
Now, what other back to school tips do you have to help people get organized? Because you actually have a course on Teachable that people could sign up for, and it's all online, so they can, you know, like get their lives together in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. So the intention of the course is so that when you are done with it, you have an action plan on things that you're going to go take care of to get ready for back to school. And this could be great whether you have kids or you're just going back to school yourself, or you just need to streamline some more things in your own life. So we've already talked about the destination station and what that is going to look like. The other things for school are going to be homework. So where is homework being done? Do your kids have a desk in their room? Are they doing it at the kitchen counter while you're making dinner? Is it at the dining room table? And if it's not being done at a specific dedicated desk, where are all of their school supplies going to live? So where are, you know, if you want to be able to eat dinner on your kitchen table, you don't want it covered in stuff from homework, and you want your kids to be able to sit there and do what they need to do. So thinking through where homework is going to happen and how that's going to happen. So maybe you have a basket that you can just pile all the pens and pencils and markers and scissors and notebooks into to clear off the table. Maybe you have a sideboard or a spot in your kitchen that you can put that stuff in. So making it easy. And then thinking through when that will happen. So it's the expectation that homework is done as soon as you get home. Do they have time to run around the backyard or have a snack or watch TV or do whatever it is to kind of unwind a little bit? And then maybe while you're making dinner, homework is done so that you're nearby to help them, whatever that might look like. And it's going to change as your kids get older, as homework gets more intense. There's after school activities thrown in there, but thinking through now when that's going to happen. I think the other big thing is all of the paperwork and all of the artwork and all of the calendar activities that you need to manage as well. So thinking through that. The younger your kids are, the more art they're going to come home with. My 6-year-old loves to draw. And anytime she can, she will come home with art because she just loves to color on things and she wants to keep all of it. So you need a way to manage that artwork and the paperwork and whatever they're coming home with. So that might be like having a full communication station, if you will, and that's going to be your calendars, your notebooks with all the school calendars, important paperwork for your schools, maybe medical stuff. Anything that you access on a regular basis for your kids and your family should all be somewhere together. Your calendar might be digital if that works for your family so that everybody can look at it from wherever they are. We are a paper-based family. We've tried to do things digital, and I just prefer my paper calendar and my Post-it notes and we are not ready for digital calendars. We just can't do it. I'll fill it out for a couple of weeks and then promptly forget about it. So we just make sure that everything is visible in our house on a calendar that everybody can see. So making sure that you've thought through all of that and that everybody knows where it is and how it works. So they coming home from school and emptying their backpack and your kids have something that you need to sign, you don't want that getting lost in their bedroom. They need to know where that goes, and you need to know to check that box wherever that might be. And it could be on top of your kitchen counter. It might be a spot on the wall. Just thinking through that. and how that's going to function.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's all these little details
Mm-hmm.
that when you have kids, it's like, I mean, because I'm just picturing like this house, right? With the destination station when you walk in and the homework station and all kinds of cubbies. And it's so well thought out and organized.
Mm-hmm. And I think now is the time to think about that before that first week of school, just so that those first few weeks, everybody's tired and overwhelmed and trying to figure out what's going on. And maybe school sports have started or any other after school activities and things are going to be crazy. That is not the time. I mean, if you still need to, you can tweak things and certainly be putting stuff together. I'm not saying if you don't do it before school starts, it's not going to happen. But if you have the time now, try to make that happen. Help that first week go a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's like if you get that habit started from day one, then it just makes it that much easier down
Absolutely.
the line.
Yeah, definitely recommend that. And I recommend checking in a month or two into school to see how everything is working. So what needs to be tweaked? Do we need to move this box to the kitchen? Does it need to be moved to the office? What is working and what might not be working as well. Just check in as a family and see how that is going.
Yeah, definitely. Make sure that kids are understanding where everything goes and it's running smoothly. Yeah. Now, what about, do you have any like tips for, I guess, like after dinner, getting the kids ready for the next day type stuff, or maybe getting ready in the morning for school?
So that's going to depend on your family and kind of what makes sense for you and your time. So I prefer making lunches at night. My husband will make his in the morning. He's just not interested in doing it at night, but it works for him to do it in the morning. So if you feel like tackling lunches in the morning and you have time to do that, then absolutely. I prefer to get them done at night. I would recommend the more you can do before bedtime, the easier your mornings are going to go. That does not mean that you have to pick out every outfit for the week on Sunday. That's going to depend on your kids. So my kids are pretty good at getting themselves dressed and picking their clothes out just fine. I also don't really care if there's clothes match or if they're even dressed weather appropriately. I just want them dressed when it's time to walk out the door. But if that's important to you, then maybe Sunday night you're going to pick out all the clothes for the week. If you feel like that's going to help your kids get through the week better, if they're going to wake up knowing what to wear every day. I remember when pre-kids, back when I worked in the corporate world, I think I usually had a general idea in my head of what I was going to wear for the week, but didn't need to have that laid out every day. It's going to depend on what your kids need and what makes the most sense. I do recommend the more you can do at night, making sure backpacks are packed. Do they have all their paperwork in there? Maybe lunch boxes aren't packed, but sandwiches are made. Helps. I think having all of that done ahead of time helps with the mornings feeling a little less crazy, that maybe you can linger over a cup of coffee or breakfast and read the paper for a couple of minutes instead of everybody's running around the house trying to find their shoes and their paperwork, and we're out of peanut butter, whatever might happen. Just the more you can do ahead of time, I think the better.
Yeah.
I feel like stuff just never goes as smoothly in the morning. Like let's say it takes you 5 minutes to make your lunch in the evening. I feel like in the morning it would take 7 or 8 minutes just because I don't know, like if your brain isn't firing or if it's just chaotic and things just are not running as smoothly, but it just takes so much longer.
Absolutely.
In the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're tired and there's that deadline of, you have to be out the door at a certain time, and inevitably something is going to happen that's going to slow you down, and then everybody's yelling and rushing out the door, and nobody wants to start their day like that.
Yelling makes everything faster, right? No,
sure. Absolutely.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Okay. Well, that's awesome. And so you're based out of Denver, and so you work with clients in person in Denver. So going to their houses, really helping them get organized, right? Especially for the start of school. all you moms and dads out there, Valerie is in your location if you're in Denver to actually help, which is awesome. Now, Valerie, do you also do anything like via virtual stuff?
It is not something I market, but I would certainly, if the situation came up where it made sense for me to do something virtual, absolutely.
Okay,
It is
cool.
going to put a lot more work on that person because I won't be there physically to help them sort through things.
Right.
But I would be happy to kind of be more of a consulting or accountability role where I'm telling you what to do, and maybe we're doing it on Zoom or on the phone or
Okay.
something.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, when you work with your clients one-on-one, you give them homework assignments, right?
It depends.
Okay.
So that can definitely be a part of it, but I would always leave that with, it would be great if you could do X, Y, and Z before our next session, but please don't feel like you have to. So I don't want anybody to feel stressed out about not getting something done or to cancel our next session because they didn't get their homework done. It would be if they felt like they could do something between our current session and next one, or maybe it'd be more of a suggestion, just because I don't want people to feel so overwhelmed or frustrated that they're not getting something done.
Mm-hmm.
So it would need to be the right situation for that.
See, as an obliger, I would need you to tell me, hey, I'm going to cancel the next session if you don't do your homework, because I probably wouldn't do it unless
Well,
you told me. If
sure.
you were like, it's up to you, I'd be like, okay, cool.
That is fair. Well, so then you might need an accountability partner as an obliger, of somebody to kind of call you out and make sure that you know that things are getting done.
What would you need, Megan?
Probably someone to be like, you need to get this done before our next appointment. And then it would happen like 2 days before our next appointment.
Yeah. Mine would happen the night before.
Like an hour before I'm coming in.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's
get
be
this
real.
done.
Mine would happen as you were walking in the door.
Oh, I was supposed to do this last time. Let me do this real quick.
It's the last time, right? Until you walk in the door.
Yeah, right. Well, so, and I was just curious for good information for our listeners. I think everybody out there needs a little help sometimes. And I know you've got some awesome courses online, of course, like the Organizing Get Back to School course. So people can also check that out online. But what about, I guess another question that I was just kind of thinking about as we were talking about this. So when kids are going back to school, they're typically buying a lot of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you help them discard old stuff so you're not just piling things into the house, right? Like bringing more in.
Sure. So hopefully most of that stuff is just actually going to school. So the list of school supplies that's going to end up in the classroom. And then it would just be sorting through what they have. Really, if it would probably be a good idea before you go school supply shopping to assess what you have at home. So do you have enough clothes to last you for a while? When do you really need new shoes? Are you outgrowing these shoes, or do you just want new ones because it's the new school year? Like I always got new shoes and a new backpack for school every year. And so that's just what I'm going to do with my kids. But maybe that's not necessary. Maybe last year's backpack works just fine. So assessing what you have and trying to figure out what you really do need, or if they want something new. So I think we're going to go grocery or school supply shopping or backpack shopping with my daughter today, but she still has her one from last year. So she's going to have to let that one go. So it's going to end up in our donate box, and we're going to move on to the next one. And so making sure that before you buy all this new stuff, get rid of what you don't need, what's broken, and figuring out what you do really need to buy beforehand. So my 4-year-old does not get a new backpack this year. Hers is just fine. And she doesn't really know the difference at this point. So she will survive a year or two.
Man, I think I had the same backpack from like 7th grade all through high school.
Well, then it was well made.
I loved my backpack.
I had an LLB one that had my initials.
Those are fancy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that did last me. You know what? My mom still has that backpack because we have the same initials, and she uses it to go up to the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So
wow.
well being well
They
done,
were,
because I've been
yeah,
out of high school for a while. So
they were well made.
yeah.
Yeah. I think I had Esprit bags. Do you remember those things? Those were
Yes.
like middle school, those were the things. And they probably lasted like 6 weeks before I had to buy a new one.
Oh,
But
man.
they were awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those 6 weeks were glorious.
They were glorious.
That's funny. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's awesome. That's good to know, especially just like setting the expectation like, okay, if we're going to get a new backpack, the old backpack is going to go to another kid that needs it. Right.
Mhm.
So we're not just piling in. We're out with the old and with the new.
Mhm.
If you really like your old backpack, we can keep it, but that means you don't get a new one.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because you don't need a collection of backpacks. Maybe you do. I mean, maybe there's a reason that you need several. Maybe you have after school sports and it makes sense to have a backpack for each sport. But
Yeah.
we should talk about that at some point as well. So trying not to be overloaded with all of that. But yeah, there's no need to keep gathering all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Know where you're going to send it and have a good home for it.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm just also assuming with like all of their sports gear and equipment and everything, again, it's just like another designated area.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. Whether that's in your garage or back of the car, or if there's space in your entryway. I mean, you might not want hockey sticks or your snowboard in there, but definitely having a space for all of it so that it's together. So the next time you're headed out for practice or a game, it's all right there.
Mm-hmm.
You can track down what you need.
Grab and go, and maybe like a little basket next to it so that the kids can pull out their dirty things, and then you can grab the basket and wash it, and then return it to the basket, and they can put it back in their bag. Boom.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the way.
And snowboards belong inside, as you can tell with them
Okay.
sitting right behind us.
Okay. That's fair.
Snowboards, we always threw ours inside when we were done.
Mm-hmm.
You
Okay.
don't want someone to steal them or for them to get weathered. That's funny. Well, Casey and I, of course, don't have kids, so I've been taking a lot of notes. This has been really helpful.
I know. I'm going to
glad.
implement this into some of this, into
Well, and
like my everyday life, just to be more
absolutely.
organized.
That's definitely even my back to school class or online course. There's a lot of stuff in there that can be useful even if you don't have kids,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's you going back to school or not. There's definitely some good stuff in there.
Okay. Very cool. And what other courses do you have besides your, I know you had one on small spaces, like organizing small spaces, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yep, there's one on organizing small spaces, and then there's one on managing your kids' endless clothes and toys, because that seems to, I feel like I'm constantly cleaning out clothes and toys.
Mm-hmm.
And so just that one focuses more on kind of setting up routines to manage that. As stuff just seems to constantly be coming in, and you got to find a place for it to go. And especially here in Denver, where the weather is all over the map, you're not just changing over your closet one day from warm weather stuff to maybe summer stuff. It's snowing one day and 90 the next, and you never really know. So you got to have a spot for all of that. Yeah, and the organizing small spaces is just looking at how to organize mostly small homes, and getting into that, what you might need to do to keep a small space organized.
And that one is actually free, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that one is free. All of my courses are meant to be quick and easy to get through. So you don't need to be spending a bunch of time taking a bunch of courses. They're less than 20 minutes a piece, and you're going to end all three of them or any of them with an action plan. So they've all got handouts. You're going to be kind of taking some notes and thinking about how you're going to apply all of that to your own lives. And yes, the organizing small spaces is free. And that is just, I want to give people an idea of who I am and my teaching style and how I can help you.
And where can people find that course if they're like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I need help organizing my small space?
So you can find that on my website, which is homemostsimple.com. There's a link to my Teachable webpage, if you will, which is homemostsimple.teachable.com. And then you can find all of my classes on there. And there will be in the next, say, 6 months, a couple other courses on kind of managing the overwhelm and a little bit more productivity and time management, and getting into more of that. And where is your time going, and how are you really spending it? And are you spending it wisely? So that will be forthcoming, or it's in process, I should say.
I need that course.
I know. I was just going to say definitely, because I would say my time is not being spent mostly.
My time is so poorly managed. It's like 30 minutes go by and I'm like, I've done one thing. What? I don't understand what I'm doing.
I read the same sentence 7 times and still don't know what it says.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That could be a whole other podcast out of that one.
I love it. Well, Valerie, thank you so much for making the field trip over to my house to be in the basement podcasting studio with our snowboards behind us.
Yep. Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to come on our show. It was just wonderful to speak with you and learn about how to get organized for back to school and just life in general. I mean, it's such good information. And I think it's these little things that make life simple. I mean, people get so overwhelmed by the clutter and where everything goes. And so having these little tips and tricks and designated spaces in place just makes your life so much easier.
I agree. Yeah, this has been fun. And I hope that your listeners get something out of all of this and at least pick up 1 or 2 tips.
Definitely. Well, I've definitely got more than 1 or 2 tips, so I'm sure everybody did. So thank you so much again. This has been super, super good, super fun.
All right, great. Thank you.